All right, here we go with Module 4, Lesson 13 problem set. Today you are going to be able to multiply a unit fraction by a unit fraction. A quick little review, unit fractions are fractions that have the numerator of a 1, so we're talking about like 1/2 and 1/3, or maybe even 1/9, or possibly 1/12. So whenever we have a fraction that has a numerator of a 1, we call all of these fractions unit fractions. And so today we're going to be multiplying a unit fraction by a unit fraction. So let's get started with the first one. All right, so for number one, they want us to obviously solve, but they do want us to draw a rectangular fraction model to show our thinking. So that's what we need to include in our kind of our work. They want us to write a multiplication sentence, and the first one's done for us. So we kind of learned from our lesson together that we are taking a fraction and shading it, and then taking the other fraction and shading it on the different side. And so let's kind of quickly review with 1c. So now 1c says a fourth. So actually let's write that a fourth as a fraction. That represents 1/4. And then you have the word of, which also means multiply. So we're figuring out what 1/4 of 1/3 pan of brownies. So let's really quick write the multiplication sentence out. Since we know that of stands for multiplying, we're going to take 1/4 and we're going to multiply it by 1/3. All right. So now we're going to do a rectangular fraction model. And since we are starting off with 1/3 of a pan of brownies, that's what we're going to model first. We're going to model the second fraction first. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 vertical lines, and we are going to then shade in 1 out of the 3. And so if you have color pencils, you can kind of shade that 1/3. If not, you can kind of shade lightly with your pencil. And then we are going to label that what we just shaded was 1/3. Now, let's imagine we have 1/3 pan of brownies left. The other 2/3, let's say I ate them. So we have 1/3 of a pan of brownies left, and we need to find what 1/4 of the 1/3 that we have. So think of 1/4 of this right here is going to be given to maybe a friend. And so now we're going to go ahead and model 1/4 horizontally. So we need 3 vertical lines. And we're going to go ahead and say this little piece right here horizontally represents 1/4. So if you look at it, this right here is 1/4. And then you have another horizontal 1/4 and another and another. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to do what we call double shading. And technically, in the 1/4 section, whatever is already shaded, we're going to double shade again. So we're going to double shade in that one piece. And now that's going to be our answer. So what does that double piece represent as a fraction? Well, how many total pieces do we have altogether? We have 3 going across, 4 going up. So 3 times 4 is 12. And then how many are double shaded? There's only one square that's double shaded. So our answer is 1/12. So if we give a friend 1/4 of 1/3 pound of brownies, the whole entire pan, they are going to be given 1/12 of it. All right. And just kind of just showing the connection. If you look at our 2 fractions, 1/4 and 1/3, our answer is 1/12. And so the easy way to remember when we multiply fractions, we just multiply the denominators together. So 4 times 3 is 12. And the numerators together, 1 times 1 is 1. We do not need to find like units because we're not adding or subtracting. We are multiplying here. So this one, when we multiply fractions, I enjoy a lot more since we don't have to find like units. All right, let's go on to 1e. Now 1e, we have 1/2 of 1/6. So remember that the half represents a multiplication. So we can actually write the 1/2 of 1/6 as 1/2 times 6, or sorry, times 1/6. And to show a fractional model, we're going to go ahead and draw a rectangular. We can call it the pan of brownies. This is technically right here. This is one whole pan of brownies. Now, we're always going to model the 1/6 first vertically. So that means we need 5 lines. And obviously my model is not equally proportioned, but that's okay. And we're going to go ahead and label that we are finding, right now, shading the 1/6. And so if I take my colored pencil and I lightly just shade the 1/6, this is what I have available to share. The other 5/6 I already ate. So this 1/6 right here, I already am going to share with a friend, but I'm not going to share all of this piece right here. I don't want to share. I'm kind of greedy. I want to keep some for myself too. So I'm not sharing all of this. I'm sharing only 1/2 of it. So that means horizontally, I need to make halves, which is one horizontal line. And so right here, I am going to be showing that this is now 1/2 horizontally. And here's the second half horizontally. And so now I go ahead and I shade where the 1/2 is. Wherever I already shaded, I double shade. So I'm going to go ahead and double shade in just one of the squares. And now this is what my friend gets. My friend gets that one little piece, but out of the whole entire pan, they are going to get the fraction 1. And how many total pieces are there? There's 6 on the bottom, 6 on the top, so we have 12s. And so it kind of fits the algorithm of multiplying the 2 times the 6 to get 12, and the 1 times the 1 to get 1 for my answer of 1/12. All right, so let's tackle a word problem right here for number 3. We have 1/2 of Isla's workspace is covered in paper. Okay, so 1/2 of her workspace, or you can think of workspace, we can write the actual word desk. That's what I think of workspace. I think of a desk is covered in paper. And then it says that 1/3 of the paper is covered in yellow sticky notes. They want to know what fraction, so they're actually telling you what your answer should be. Your answer should be a fraction. What fraction of Isla's workspace is covered in yellow sticky notes? They want us to draw a picture to support our answer. All right, so let's first start with the first sentence. We know that half of Isla's workspace is covered in paper. So we can draw her rectangular workspace. I'll draw it right here. And we know half of it is covered in paper, so we can go ahead and vertically split it in half and say, okay, this is technically the paper right here. Half is covered with paper. And I'm going to label it 1/2 paper, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shade, lightly shade this 1/2 right here. Because then it tells us next, in the next sentence, that 1/3 of this half that's filled with paper is yellow sticky notes. So I want to go ahead and model 1/3 horizontally. I need 2 horizontal lines. And so right here is technically the 1/3, which actually means in this piece right here, that is actually the yellow sticky notes, SN for sticky notes. So now we want to know what fraction of Isla's workspace is covered in yellow sticky note. Remember, this is her whole entire workspace. They want to know what fraction of her workspace is covered in yellow sticky notes. Here is where her yellow sticky notes are, but what fraction of it? It's going to be 1 out of 6. So 1/6 of her workspace is yellow sticky notes. So what we just solved was the expression of 1/3 times 1/2, which we got the answer of what's in that red box right there represents the fraction 1 out of how many pieces of her workspace, it's actually broken up into 6. So now we have the answer. And let's go ahead and write our sentence. We're going to say 1/6 of Isla's workspace is covered in yellow sticky notes. Period. All right. So remember, word problems need to have a complete sentence with the answer in it. And then we're going to go ahead and do question number 5. All right, question number 5. Before we tackle this, just know that as we get down to the end of the problem set, the word problems get a little bit more complex. We have to do a little bit more reading to make sure that we understand what's going on. So number 5 says, Marie is designing a bedspread for her grandson's new bedroom. All right, that first sentence just kind of sets up the word problem, and there's nothing really useful for us to solve. The next sentence says, 2/3 of the bedspread is covered in race cars. All right. So I'm going to put 2/3 of the bedspread is covered in race cars. And the rest, let's go ahead and box in the rest, is striped. Okay, so if 2/3 of it is covered in race cars, the rest, the fraction for the rest would represent 1/3. Because 2/3 are race cars, and then 1/3, the rest, is stripes. Now it goes in a little greater detail. It says 1/4 of the stripes are red. So 1/4 of the stripes. So this stripes refers back to this 1/3 fraction. They want to know what fraction of the bedspread is covered in red stripes. So let's do a little modeling really quick. Let's pretend this is the bedspread. And we know first that 2/3 of the bedspread is covered in race cars and the rest is striped. So let's go ahead and divide this up into thirds. So here we can label this 2/3 is the race cars. And the rest, this 1/3, is stripes. It's kind of a weird bedspread to have, two sections over the left be completely race cars and then one section to be stripes. All right, so now we got 2/3 right here is covered in race cars, and 1/3, which is the rest, is striped. So this is the striped section right here. Now here we go with the next part. 1/4 of the stripes are red. So we're only looking at this piece right there. We're not looking at these two pieces. There's no red stripes over here in this race card section. That's only right here. So that means I'm going to go ahead and shade that this is the 1/3, the stripes, and there's going to be some red stripes somewhere in what I just shaded. And so now I'm going to go ahead and, since 1/4, oops, that's not what I want. Okay, since 1/4 right here of the stripes are red, we're going to go ahead and horizontally make 4 equal parts. And then that means that this horizontal part, this horizontal piece right here, this first one is considered a 4th, and then another 4th, then another 4th, and then another 4th. And so right here is where we've already shaded red. We're going to kind of double shade, maybe a little bit darker. Here, this is where we have the red stripes. This little piece right there. So what fraction of the bedspread is covered in red stripes? Well, it is this piece right here that we just double shaded. So what did we find? Our expression was, and we're going to kind of use this right here as our expression or problem. We have 1/4 of the stripes. Well, the stripes refers back to 1/3. And so if we change that into a multiplication sentence, we have 1/4 times 1/3, which, looking at our model, how many or what portion of the bedspread, what fraction of the bedspread is covered in red stripes? Well, it's going to be 1 out of, there's 12 pieces now, so we have 1/12. So now here's our sentence, 1/12 of the bedspread is covered in red stripes. All right, nice job, fifth graders. Make sure you have that sentence with a punctuation at the very end. And that ends this lesson, lesson 13 of multiplying unit fractions by unit fractions. And I'll see you on the next video.